Hello, my name is Pierre Talbot. I'm the president of Tikidem, and today in this video, we will talk about planning when it's time to purchase a controller, either for pleasure boat or for R&D project, university project, or if you're a hobbyist. What are the important things to consider? So we'll talk about that. But just before that, Tikidam, what we do is of course, we develop a controller like the one that you see right here, but we also do R&D for hydrofoil. We have a project on that, and we also do R&D consultation. So my background is electronics, software, project management. I have 35 years of development in video product, test product, avionic product. I have worked on the architecture of a satellite network. So I have a lot of background, and I have put all these years of experience to come up with this product. But the goal is to talk about planning. So the first thing that you need to start with is your needs. So you need to figure out exactly what you need to do, what you need to achieve. It could be a wide topic. So to help you into this, we have developed a Google spreadsheet to help you figure out what you could do with the a controller. Most likely, the spreadsheet is for a pleasure boat. So go on the website. You'll find a link to request to have your own spreadsheet. Fill out the form, your name, phone number. There will be question about which type of boat you have, and with that, we will give you a spreadsheet that is close to your need, and we have also videos that explain how to fill that, and that will help you to figure out, okay, how many inputs do you need, how many relays do you need to control, what special sensor you need to interface with. So it's a very good tool, and it's free. So just request for that. We'll only do one follow-up with you after that, but again, it's free to use. Then the next thing to figure out is your budget, because is it a $500 budget, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000? If you start looking at companies out there that generate, who has produced controller, you can easily go up to 10,000. In our case, we have developed this so that we're about 25 to 50% less than in fact, we're a quarter of the price of the most expensive company out there. So, but still, you need to figure out what's your budget, and of course, the spreadsheet will help you to answer those questions. You need to answer the question about, okay, what's your budget for this year, next year? Try to plan 1-2 year in advance, just to make sure that you build something that will be able to support more feature down the road. After that, you need to figure out, okay, what's the equipment that you will need to interface with, what display are you going to use. In this case here, right here, we have an MFD from Axiom. Well, it's an Axiom from Raymarine, but this is very expensive. I mean, this is about $2,000. I don't recommend using this to display your engine parameters because it's quite expensive. Some companies, they produce their own display, which is also expensive considering that it's only being used for one thing. What we recommend is to use what we have right here, an iPad. It could be an old iPad, or it could be an Android tablet. It could be a laptop in your boat. So this is probably the most efficient and cost effective, because at the end of the day, you can use an iPad to do something else. So also you need to consider which sensor you want to use, which one you want to interface with. Let's say if you want to have the fuel flow, you will have to install a sensor to measure how much fuel you burn. So you really need to figure out, okay, what you need to interface, or what the equipment you will need this year and the next year. And then you need to plan the installation. So who will do the installation of a box like this? So is it you? Do you have enough skills for that? Eventually we'll do a video on what the kind of skills that is required to do that on our own. Or are you going to use someone from working at a marina? Do you have someone that has enough skill for that? I mean, having people that cut wires and make some connection, this can be enough, can be quite easy, but you need people that will be able to figure out which wire to interface with, and after that, people that will be qualified enough to do the calibration, the the configuration, the customization. Of course, we do offer this service. So if you're not comfortable with that, we can prepare all of this for you. But still, at the end, someone needs to install that in your boat. You need to figure out where you're going to install the unit. So if you put that in an engine room, you need to be careful about the temperature. That's sometimes some electronics, they have a limit. So ideally you want to be where all the wires are present. So let's say behind the helm with all the gauges that you can connect to. But still, you need to figure out where you want to connect. It could be that you have like two boxes like this in two separate places. Otherwise, you might have to add wires, and depending on the type of boat you have or application, it might be a bit more difficult to route these wires. So, and lastly, you need to plan to add fuse for this, but it's probably the easiest part. And after that, you need to do the installation itself. So having to intercept each wire. Are you going to do one, test one, add another one, test another one, or you want to do all connection all at once? If you go in that direction of all at one time, don't do that 2 weeks before leaving in vacation with your boat, because that's a recipe for disaster. So you need to have some time to do this, to do it right. So, but still, you need to do the planning of the installation. Then you need to plan for the configuration of the controller. So you need to figure out, do you need any customization to your box? Normally, each boat or each application is different, so some customization is required. So that requires some time. If you do need help, we do offer the service to do the customization and configuration of the unit. If you go with different companies, make sure you can do that on your own, or you can find some people to help you on that. For the customization, what we use is on the user interface is Node-RED. It's an environment, it's a tool that allows to do have different widget, different gauges, where it's an RPM or temperature, or display the voltage, some graph, all these things. This is a tool for that, and you stitch all these widgets together, put some code behind to build the rules and do the global monitoring of your both of your application. So we're gonna have a video shortly, specifically on Node-RED, how to change this. But still, you need to figure out what kind of customization you will need. And then the last step is you need to plan for the test. Of course, all the connections you would have done with your controller, you need to make sure that they are tested, so that you haven't swapped, let's say, 2 RPM connections. Ideally, if you can do just like a group of connection, do the testing after, and then the next group of connection and do the testing. That's the best way. Doing all the connection all at once it might be a bit more difficult. Sometimes if your boat is out of the water, you could probably do most of the connections and testing and leave the engine testing while you're on the water. But still, you need to plan for the test, how and when you will do this. And then you need to plan for your time. All of this, like shopping for a controller, figure out the which feature, the pricing, who does what, if it meets your need, then purchasing that, doing the installation, understanding the devices, reading the document, looking at videos for how to, and then doing all the tests. That requires some time, and don't do that 2 weeks before leaving with your vacation, because it's not going to work. It requires some time for that, but at the end, it's worth it. And finally, you need to figure out how you're going to use the product. That sounds like a simple question, but do you want to have warnings and alarm when you're away from your boat, like you receive those notifications? Then you will need to figure out how to interface to the internet, where you want to see the information. Do you need to have some information outside? When there's a problem, do you want to have just the sound notification, like have something like this, the green button that would change color and tell you that there's something wrong? But so you need to figure out what's the end goal of the controller, and that would steer you to some product or feature that you would want to have. So if you have any question, you can send me an email. If you would like to see some different topic for videos, let me know. I can add them. And feel free to send me an email if you want to know more about this. Thank you again.